Everything kicks off with a massive wide shot of a totally uncharted world. Right then, a goblin casually wipes the mess off his blade like it is just another Tuesday. Surrounded by a bunch of fallen bodies, he is just taking a breather in the middle of that chaotic aftermath. Soon enough, desperate screams echo from inside a dark cave entrance. Hearing the commotion, the goblin peeks into the shadowy entrance littered with knocked-out dudes. He stays dead silent, scoping out the vibe of the room with serious attention. Then, the creature gains this sinister boost of confidence, looking at the scene. Inside, a girl named Jung Haeun is tied up and absolutely terrified. One of the thugs reads her ID, confirming the young lady is from a ritzy place like Beverly Hills. With zero chill, the goons mock the hostage for living in such a fancy zip code. Making small talk, the head honko asks if she has calmed down enough to listen to reason. The criminal totally notices the girl's shock at getting dropped out of nowhere into this crazy world. Confirming her absolute panic, the guy lets her know this place is packed with orcs, elves, and magic. Since they are veterans around these parts, the thugs act like they own the whole block. Grabbing her chin, the leader guarantees the rookie is going to need some serious backup. To drive the point home, he lifts the head of her fallen boyfriend, letting her know exactly what happens if she says no. Unable to speak through the gag, Haeun thrashes around in pure despair. The heavy toll of the situation hits her, and the girl straight up passes out on the floor. Goons laugh at her weak constitution, tossing around the idea of knocking out a few teeth to keep her obedient. But another guy steps in, telling them not to mess up the rookie's pretty face. After all, it has been a hot minute since someone that good-looking showed up in their neck of the woods. Deciding to drag the hostage back to base, they start yanking her bindings with zero mercy. At that exact moment, a hooded dude mutters that he cannot stand this garbage anymore. Completely caught off guard by the interruption, the criminals glare at the newcomer. Ticked off, one of the punks starts trash-talking the guy, demanding to know why he is running his mouth. But the mysterious dude just gives them the silent treatment in the face of their cheap provocation. Zero warning, the cloak is tossed aside, revealing himself to be the little goblin from before, leaving the thugs totally flabbergasted. Spinning his weapon with serious swagger, the creature gears up for a brawl. Totally bewildered, the punks stare at him, having no clue where this little beast popped out from. Stealing the spotlight, the goblin suggests they play a totally different game now. Furious at the disrespect, one of the thugs lunges forward, seeing red. Catching him slipping, the little monster hurls a dagger right into the enemy's critical spot. Waking up from her blackout, Haeun watches the whole scene in pure disbelief. Absolute terror takes over the girl as she watches the beatdown happen right in front of her. Losing their minds over their buddy going down, the rest of the goons rush the shorty. Tightening his grip, the creature braces himself to take their hits. One of the punks goes for a straight swing, looking to end things right there. With ridiculous ease, the bite-sized warrior parries the big guy's attack. Right after that, he launches into his own lightning-fast counter-offensive, catching the opponent dead to rights without giving him a single opening to block. Leaking and screaming in agony, the guy drops to his knees, totally bested. Without missing a beat, the goblin plants his blade straight into the dome of another henchman. With only one guy left standing, the final punk freezes up seeing his crew wiped out. The hostage just keeps watching the wreckage, shaking like a leaf and completely speechless. Going after the last survivor, the fighter reminds him the game is not over yet. Panicking, the guy wildly swings his sword to keep the monster at bay. Screaming his lungs out, he tries to wind up for a heavy overhead strike. But the goblin jumps insanely high into the air, getting all the momentum he needs. Coming down hard, he lands a brutal knee right on the thug's face. The punk gets launched across the room, crashing heavily into the cave's soft dirt. Out of gas and out of luck, the criminal just lays there defeated. Terrified she is next on the chopping block, Haeun bawls her eyes out, begging the beast to stay back. Trying to save his own skin, the busted-up thug backs away, offering food as a trade. Doing a total 180, he praises the little monster for speaking English. Pleading for mercy, the man desperately asks what the shorty wants. The answer comes via a ruthless strike straight into the guy's torso, wrapping up the job once and for all without a shred of pity. Sitting on the ground completely winded, the green warrior admits the brawl took a lot out of him. Until the creature spots something nearby and snaps his head around. Tied up and huddled in a corner, the girl waits for her terrible finale in total silence. Strolling over to her, the goblin wedges his heavy weapon into the wooden frame, slicing the ropes binding the young lady's hands with absolute precision. Giving her the cold shoulder, he mentions there is still her mess to sort out. Free from the ropes, Haeun stays on the floor rubbing her bruised wrists. Scraping together a little courage, she hesitates but asks if he is from the States too. Glancing over his shoulder, the creature asks if he looks like a human to her. Crying her eyes out, she points out he speaks the language, knows about IDs, and bailed her out. The shorty quickly shuts down the chat, coldly stating he did not save anyone. Desperate for straight answers, the girl begs him to explain what on earth is going on. Annoyed, he asks if the rookie slept through the bad guy's villain monologue. Laying it out straight, he explains they were both doing fine until they woke up screwed in this parallel universe. Clutching her head, Hyein completely loses it over this wacky alternate dimension story. Watching the pitiful, shell-shocked state of the human girl, the goblin declares that by now she should be able to see the truth too. The green warrior asks if she cannot see the quest she was handed. At that, Hyein is left totally clueless about what he means. Suddenly, the girl's vision is hijacked by a glowing digital notification. Startled by the blue screen floating in her face, she stammers, trying to decode the message. Chuckling, the creature tells her she will get the hang of things if she clears these quests and scores some loot. Turning his back to bounce, the little guy just tells the rookie to keep hustling to stay alive. But Hyein clings to his leg like a lifeline, begging him to wait and explain this crazy mess. Ticked off by the annoying clinginess, the warrior stops dead in his tracks. Without a second thought, he kicks the human away with zero remorse. In a flash, the little monster presses his blade right against the girl's neck. Ice cold, he lets her know he is the most dangerous thing in the room, demanding to know what she expects from him. The shorty drops the hammer, stating that from now on he is taking out any human he sees, making it clear letting her live was just a fluke. Hyein cries out, asking why he is so cruel when he is totally capable of helping people out. Hearing those words, the creature freezes up completely as the question hits him right in the feels. Suddenly, the goblin's mind is yanked back to a rainy memory where a voice sobbed that this was never supposed to happen. In the pouring rain, a human guy cries his heart out begging for SOS. Right in his arms, the woman named Solji slowly fades away. Heavy metallic footsteps cut through the sound of the rain, stepping up to the couple. The heartbroken dude looks up at the figure carrying the holy sword. An imposing knight stands tall right in front of the sobbing survivor. The woman going by Hayuri keeps her posture totally unshaken. Absolutely shattered, the guy brings up the promise the warrior made to help everyone live a good life in this new world. Screaming with every ounce of pain in his soul, he demands to know why this happened when she could have saved the squad. Unsheathing her weapon, the knight calls the whole mess a noble sacrifice after they perfectly cleared the objective. With zero empathy, the woman sentences the guy to the ultimate game over, accusing him of offing a teammate. The man blocks her swing with his sword, screaming that her troops took out his pregnant wife, and he was just trying to stop them. Eating the massive impact from the enemy, the guy coughs up a storm, unable to hold his ground. Pouncing on the opening, the warrior knocks the survivor into the mud, telling the traitor to zip it once and for all. Sprawled out in the dirt, he repeats her garbage line about a noble sacrifice, in pure disgust. Choking on his own mess, the guy mutters that this whole setup is just one massive scam. Consumed by pure, unadulterated hatred, the man curses every single human with his last breath. Wishing he could tear them apart with his bare hands, he vows he would pay whatever it takes for payback. Snapping back to the present, the goblin shakes with rage, remembering that backstab while glaring at the girl. Taking a deep breath, the warrior decides to answer the rookie's question about why he acts this way. Overflowing with fury, the little monster yells that he despises humanity because he is officially not one of them anymore. Swallowed by the shadows of the cave, the creature fully embraces his new gig as a green-skinned beast. The traumatic flashbacks keep haunting his brain, replaying the knight's fake apologies. The mental picture of that woman condemning him for treason loops like a suffocating nightmare. He relives the moment he tried to fight back, remembering the agonizing sting of losing his family. The heavy memory of getting stomped into the mud by the ruthless warrior hits him like a freight train. Totally broken, the man felt his energy slip away under that freezing rain. The sick irony of being labeled a traitor after giving it his all eats him alive from the inside. The grudge against his own old race cemented right there, spawning a deep-rooted curse. That primal hatred made him crave the power to slice up his tormentors at any cost. Suddenly, the mental movie switches to air bubbles slowly rising in pitch-black water. Breaking the surface, the goblin pops out of the lake, gasping for air with a raw, beastly roar. Panning in the middle of the water, the creature is beyond confused as to why he is still breathing. His very first instinct is to frantically search the dark for his girl. But looking down at his own body and seeing the green skin, he goes into shock trying to process what went down. Right then, a massive magic circle starts glowing super bright on the floor of this creepy place. Freaked out by the light, the former human curses, having no earthly idea where he ended up. Staring at his own clawed hands, pure horror sets in as he realizes he is rocking a new monster bod. An imposing shaman steps out of the shadows, announcing that the human side of this being is gone for good. The freshly minted warrior spins around, totally spooked by the tribal figure. Rocking a skull mask, the leader introduces himself as Morxel, the shaman of warriors. Reaching out, the old veteran decides to hook him up with a legit goblin tribe name. Frozen by the magic of the moment, the shorty listens closely as his new destiny gets forged. With a deep voice, the shaman officially dubs him Gorls. Feeling the weight of his new title, he thinks about what it means to be called a great vessel. Fast forward back to the wreckage left from the thugs, proving all that lethal precision was straight up the new Gorls at work. Watching from the sidelines, a goblin archer smirks, super proud of her tribemate's skills. Right in the middle of the messy camp, the archer tells the rest of the crew to hold down the fort. The warrior named Mev darts toward the forest, totally hyped to catch up with her crush. Back in the cave, Gorls shakes off his thoughts and gets ready to bounce. Turning his back on the girl, he tells her to get lost before he changes his mind and finishes her off. But Heian scrambles up in a panic, begging to tag along with the goblin and promising to be useful. Gorls asks if she has lost her marbles, wanting to follow a hostile monster. At that, Heian screams that he is not a monster. The young lady argues that the humans lied and tried to jump her, asking who the real monsters are here. On her knees crying buckets, the girl admits the green warrior is the only thing she actually trusts right now. Sighing heavily, the goblin lightly bunks the human on the head to knock some sense into her. Standing tall, he warns her that trusting people too easily is exactly why she is stuck in this nightmare. Raising his voice, the little guy makes it crystal clear that there is absolutely zero trust in this place. Switching gears, Gorls lets her know there are plenty of survivor camps scattered around the map. Shrugging, the creature guarantees she will find folks way more reliable than him in those spots. Before dipping out, the warrior tosses a tiny item straight into the survivor's hands. While Heian looks at the loot confused, he warns her that getting into a camp comes with a hefty entry fee. Gorls tells her to keep it hidden and use it as an emergency card, because even if she misses a critical spot, just slicing some bare skin gives her a fighting chance. Running out of patience, he turns his back and ends the chat, promising she will meet her end by his hands if she keeps yapping. But Heian yells for her savior to hold up, sobbing and begging for his name before they part ways. The shorty stops in his tracks, remembers his old human name, and decides to dump that identity in the trash. Embracing his new life, he proudly announces he is Gorls, the great vessel. Right after that epic drop, the warrior starts rummaging through a wooden crate left in the cave. Out of nowhere, Mev pops up asking if he let the human slip away, reminding him the game plan was to wipe out everyone from that race. Noticing the archer, the warrior just casually acknowledges she showed up. Feeling a bit jelly, the goblin points out the woman was carrying his dagger, a perk not even she had scored yet. Crouched by the loot, Gorls reasons that taking out a pathetic human like her gives 0 XP and is just a headache. Totally smitten, his sidekick concludes he only wants to throw down with heavy hitters, hyping up the little guy as her man. Stepping closer, Mev asks just how overpowered this holy sword lady is for him to want to end her run so badly. Standing up slowly, the warrior drops the casual tone and clarifies it is not just about power levels. With a look dripping with hatred, Gorls confesses he wants to wipe out the ones who stole his world. Hit by this sudden wave of rage, the archer steps back, a bit rattled by the intensity. The goblin's mind drifts back to the tragic past, remembering how humanity wrecked his only reason to keep going and the one person he wanted to protect. Fueled by pure revolt, he points at himself and reminds her those same backstabbers ended his run too. He starts walking out and admits he does not get how he respond, but guarantees absolutely nothing is stopping his rampage now. Listening to the dark speech, the archer freezes up as her partner swears to pay whatever price it takes to tear his enemies apart. The heavy vibe in the air makes Mev shrink back, completely terrified. Consumed by the thirst for payback, the little monster unleashes a crushing aura, threatening to serve back every ounce of suffering he took. The promise to return the favor takes over the whole area like a shockwave. Faced with all this lethal intent, tears of pure terror stream down the sidekick's face. Unable to handle the overwhelming pressure, the goblin loses her footing, falls on her behind, and lets out a yelp. Snapping back to reality, Gorls panics, seeing his teammate's state, and calls out to her. Crying on the ground, Mev admits she was terrified seeing him that ticked off, quickly getting an apology since he wasn't mad at her. Changing the subject, the leader asks her to round up the squad and gather all the loot to offer to the shaman. Bouncing back fast, the archer jumps up super pumped and starts barking orders at the other goblins to get moving. Outside the cave, the warrior climbs up a rock formation and stares out at the massive wild world. Feeling the breeze on his face, he checks out the horizon in silence, plotting his next moves. The sound of distant footsteps catches the warrior's ear. He pictures the human running for her life through the woods to survive this brutal sandbox. With a quick swipe, the shorty pulls up the system panel floating right in his face. Checking the quest log, he sees he has already taken out 29 humans, needing just one more to hit the evolution jackpot. Feeling himself, Gorls notes he got way faster and stronger, knowing the next fights will be a cakewalk once he evolves into a goblin warrior. Snapping the MC out of his thoughts, the archer pops up hollering his name. Mev lets him know she packed up all the useful gear from the camp and wants the game plan for their next move. He explains that some punks managed to bail during the ambush and will definitely be back with backup soon. Leading the charge with a wicked smirk, the shorty declares that Spot is going to be the enemy's graveyard. The sun beats down hard, lighting up the thick forest. A bit later, the cave entrance stays dead quiet, waiting for the targets to show up. Wiped out from the heavy lifting, the archer wipes the sweat off her brow after rigging the battlefield. Annoyed by the sloppy work, the leader chews Mev out for not being a bit more subtle with the traps. Suddenly, another minion yells for the boss from deep inside the tunnel. The tiny monster shows up grinning, confirming the crew did exactly what he asked. The lackey proudly reports that all the booby traps and roadblocks are locked and loaded. Giving the little dude a pat on the head, Gorls praises the hustle, but reminds him he is not their boss. Another goblin steps up, saying he saw the brawl against the humans and officially recognizes him as the top dog. Pumped up, the little warrior asks if the rest of the gang is on board with that call. The whole squad cheers in unison, welcoming the new guy as the official tribe commander. Mev hugs the boss's arm, saying she accepts him too, but only as her man. Killing the mood, a lookout sprints into the tunnel to warn everyone the humans are closing in. Drawing his sword, the commander announces it is showtime and tells the whole crew to fall back and find a safe hiding spot. He then glances back and specifically asks the archer to back him up for the incoming firefight. Knocking an arrow, Mev promises to make it rain on the enemies in the name of her crush. Flashing a confident grin, the leader kicks off the anti-human sweep. Outside, the rescue squad rolls up and instantly freaks out at the massive mess painted all over the floor. Gripping a heavy axe, the bandit boss demands the survivor tell him if one single goblin really caused all this wreckage. Grabbing the lackey by the collar, the big guy assumes this is just some twisted prank. Shaking like a leaf, the goon swears the little monster was like a rabid dog wrecking everyone without breaking a sweat. Sick of the excuses, the brute insults the coward and drops him like a sack of potatoes. Unable to keep his balance, the survivor lands on his back in the gross weeds. The boss then orders his right-hand man to lead the squad and capture the little pest alive. Turning to the gang, the lieutenant screams the order to push forward and bag the target. But right mid-sentence, a pinpoint arrow goes straight through the sub-commander's head. The guy's body instantly faceplants into the hard dirt, totally out of the game. Completely shocked by the snipe, the leader screams, trying to figure out where the shot came from. Pointing frantically at the bushes, the survivor yells that the monster is camping in there. Hidden in the greenery, the archer lets the projectiles fly with ice-cold precision. Another thug takes a critical hit straight to the chest. As the lackey hits the deck, the boss calls the informant a useless piece of trash for not calling out the sniper. As the circus from up high, Mev flashes a cocky smile, calling the guys clueless noobs. Swiftly, the goblin parkours through the tree branches, repositioning on the battlefield. Furious that his squad is frozen, the brute screams at everyone to push up and grab the target alive. Weapons drawn, the punks charge the tree line screaming like maniacs. Sprinting through the tunnels, the archer hauls it to kite the invaders. With a slick jump, Mev drops down the rocks, putting major distance between them. The second she hits the floor, the goblin keeps her tactical sprint going through the dark. The furious about the juke, the bandit boss orders his crew to catch that filthy creature. Following orders, the whole squad funnels into the cave's tight corridors. Catching up to her leader, the archer confirms the humans took the bait, catching some praise for a job well done. Hyped about the play, Mev nods and gets ready to dip through the back door. Meanwhile, the squad of invaders bumps into a massive pile of rubble blocking the path. Sighing in frustration, the big guy complains about the humiliation of getting played by a basic mob. Ignoring the roadblock, one of the goons tries to push through anyway. Right then, a hidden fuse starts burning up super fast, spitting sparks. Confused by the sizzle, the minion pauses, trying to figure out what is up. Resting his axe on his shoulder, the leader scoffs, wondering if the enemy actually thought some rocks would stop them. The brute even gives the green warrior props, admitting he is way sharper than his own goons. Suddenly, the boss's face drops as he spots the incoming disaster. He notices something very sketchy tucked right into the middle of the debris. Reaching out, the thug spots a literal powder keg rigged to blow. Clueless to the danger, the minion points the object out to the boss. Going into full panic mode, the big guy screams for everyone to run for their lives. But the lackey just stands there frozen, totally missing the memo. A split second later, a massive explosion completely swallows the thugs without mercy. The insane heat completely toasts the dudes standing closest to the barrel. The blast shockwave blows the cave entrance to bits, launching debris everywhere. One of the survivors gets yeeted into the distance by the sheer force of the explosion. Flat on the ground, the guy coughs up a lung and curses the monster with every bit of hate he has left. Covered in thick smoke, the criminal tries to shake off the massive hit. The fireworks from afar, the archer is blown away by the size of the blast. Worried, the psychic turns around and asks if her boss caught any splash damage. But she stutters in shock seeing her partner wrapped in glowing blue magic. Hitting the exact elimination quota, the system confirms the quest and grants the highly anticipated evolution. The power dissipates, revealing the new super, buff physical form of Gorls. Sporting a wicked grin, he takes a deep breath, feeling the upgrade course through his veins. The commander flexes the ridiculous new energy, totally loving the experience of leveling up. Not too far away, the busted-up goon clutches his arm, trying to stop the leak. Ticked off, the survivor regrets even giving a heads up and calls his eliminated buddies a bunch of morons. Hearing footsteps in the smoke, the guy mocks the creature, calling him a stubborn cockroach. But his smirk vanishes instantly when the green warrior steps out without a scratch and looking way more menacing. With lethal chill, the monster pulls out his razor-sharp dagger, getting ready for the interrogation. Going into total meltdown mode, the criminal screams in pure terror as his end approaches. Shaking from head to toe, the kid tries to block with the stump of his busted sword. Staring down his prey, the leader warns the human he is going to be dinner if he does not spill the beans with absolute honesty. Out of options, the hostage gulps and accepts the terms just to stay breathing. A massive human survivor base pops up on the horizon. The camp looks exactly the same as the warrior remembers from his past life. Noticing the boss spacing out, Mev asks what is wrong, but he just assures her things just got playing on easy mode. Switching focus, the commander notes they need to report the progress to the tribe's shaman first. He orders the minions to scavenge some fresh weapons from the camp and regroup. Taking advantage of the break, the prisoner asks for his highly anticipated freedom. The guy points out he already pinned the map and confirmed the exact coordinates of the human base. Keeping his word, the green boss agrees to let the informant walk away. The dude asks if he is for real, a little glimmer of hope shining in his eyes. The minions start shoving the human away, telling him to hit the road since he got his pardon. Turning his back to the squad, the traitor insults the creatures in his head, thinking he just scored a massive win. But the little monsters shadow him closely, knives out and giggling like creeps. With zero warning, a blade gets planted right into the guy's back in a total cheap shot. The human lets out a blood-curdling scream, feeling the steel tear into him. Instantly, one of the minions slaps a hand over the victim's mouth to muffle the noise. In a brutal combo attack, the goblins shank the survivor multiple times without a drop of pity. Kept focused on the map, the leader coldly mentions he promised he wouldn't end him, but he cannot speak for his squad. Dumped in the swamp water, the wrecked body of the thug sinks down, totally finished. Back at the tribal cave, the old shaman questions the request for gear to raid the human camp. Kneeling respectfully, the warrior explains he already scouted all the target's details perfectly. He guarantees a sneak attack would mean a super easy dub for the whole tribe. Hearing the pitch, the elder leader mumbles, stroking his chin and weighing the bold strategy. Suddenly, a yell echoes through the room, telling the shaman to shoot down the idea right then and there. Gorls turns his head and glares at the massive hobgoblin who just crashed the meeting uninvited. The giant brute named Goff argues they should be prepping for the big boss's summon instead. Explaining the rush, the newcomer warns that the long road trip is going to drain a ton of supplies. Agreeing with the timeline, Merxel admits he does not have a solid reason to deny the rookie's raid. Annoyed, the hobgoblin points a finger, calling the MC nothing but a worthless noob warrior. Standing up calmly, the former human dares the giant to tag along on the mission to babysit the troops. With a teasing smirk, he asks if the big guy actually has the guts to handle the heat. Clenching his fists, Goff gets heated, asking if the shorty is trying to test his stats. Keeping his intimidating aura, Gorls accepts the challenge, promising to show him what top-tier gameplay looks like. Breaking the heavy tension, the archer runs in screaming for her grandpa to find out where her man is. Standing face to face with the former human, Goff asks if he is bold enough to accept a duel of honor. Hearing that, Mev is totally floored by the random challenge. Refusing to back down, the leader accepts the 1v1, but slaps on a rule that the loser has to give the winner whatever they want. Dropping a bet like that, the archer's jaw hits the floor. Stepping up, Merxel officially sanctions the brawl. Freaking out, the girl asks her grandpa why the heck he greenlit this. Right after, both fighters strut to the center of a massive battle arena. While the MC waits totally chill, the crowd goes wild chanting the giant's name. Geared up for the scrap, the hobgoblin glares at his opponent from across the ring. Up in the stands, the archer scolds the little goblin for not stopping the boss from taking this crazy fight. The minion defends himself, saying there was zero time to react since Gorl's auto accepted and the ref made it official. From his VIP spot, the shaman announces it is a no weapons, no magic throwdown, ending only when someone taps out or loses the will to throw hands. Spooked, the minion warns his partner that the giant has a garbage temper and is not going to pull his punches. Without skipping a beat, the elder waves his hand and rings the bell for the match to start. Running on pure rage, the giant lets out an ear-splitting roar, hyping up the fight. Charging in full speed, he mocks the shorty for thinking he is a big deal just because he recently leveled up. Winding up for a heavy haymaker, the giant promises to break the leader's bones so he never plays again. Gorls dodges the telegraphed swing with ridiculous ease. Capitalizing on the whiff, the former human lands a brutal gut punch right in the opponent's stomach. Taking the massive hit, the big guy gets the wind knocked out of him and drops to his knees. Keeping the combo going, the MC connects a vicious knee right to the giant's face. Totally dazed, the hobgoblin crashes on his back in the dirt, kicking up a massive dust cloud. Up in the bleachers, the archer and the rest of the tribe watch the beatdown in absolute shock. Shaking from the pain, the brute grinds his teeth, trying to reboot his brain. Seeing the giant refuse to quit, the crowd starts hyping him up again. Tank the hit, Gorls asks if he really is not planning on tapping out, getting a quick nope in response. Right then, the shorty dashes in and puts the opponent in a crazy tight chokehold. Gasping for air, the busted fighter's eyes bug out, feeling the crushing pressure. Within seconds, his lights go out and he starts drooling, totally knocked out. The Lecco Hobgoblin's heavy body slumps to the floor, officially AFK. Sighing out of pure boredom, the former human notes the guy has the size, but his combat mechanics are complete trash. Hyping up the flawless victory, the archer jumps for joy, while the rest of the tribe absolutely loses their minds. From his podium, Morxel crowns Gorls the undisputed champ and says he will grant his request. Turning to the elder, the MC gives a respectful chest thump to say thanks. Sprinting down the bleachers, the girl rushes straight for her crush. Overcome with emotion, Mev Tackle hugs him, almost knocking the warrior on his rear. She non-stop praises her partner's stats, admitting she doubted him for a second, but immediately starts flexing to everyone else about how OP her man is. Right behind her, the minion announces he is officially the boss's right-hand man now, not letting him steal the spotlight. The archer demands they officially couple up today. Crashing the party, the shaman walks up looking like an absolute boss to meet the winner. The girl excitedly calls out to her grandpa, and the old man just nods at the greeting. With a firm slam, Morxel strikes the base of his staff hard against the dirt. Instantly, a wave of blue magic energy pulses out from the impact zone. A massive circular portal pops up, lighting the whole arena with some crazy ancient magic. Watching the spell cast up close, the former human is seriously impressed seeing that kind of high-tier magic live. The elder tells the leader to step up, mentioning there is an NPC waiting to meet him. Taking the invite, the MC walks through the glowing portal with the archer right behind him. Dropping in on the other side, the crew spawns under a giant, ridiculously fancy dome. The second they step onto the red carpet, the magic portal snaps shut behind them. Playing tour guide, the shaman leads the warrior through the mega-decorated lobby. They stop in front of a sleek desk just as a new flash of dark energy ripples in the air. Out of the light, a pair of mysterious feet float down, touching the floor super gently. The MC locks his eyes in, trying to figure out who just spawned into the room. Revealing her character design, a golden-skinned goblin greets the shaman, saying it has been a minute. Firing back, the old elder slams his staff on the floor again. The mystic blue energy immediately paints the stone floor again. Flexing his aura, the tribe leader channels his sneaky fast, travel magic one more time. Curious about the whole vibe, Gorls watches closely as the magic flows through the air. The old man doubles down on the invite, signaling that the real business talks are about to start. Not questioning his boss's strats, the green leader walks into the spell without a word. The majestic architecture keeps gleaming under the lights reflecting off the spotless floor. Walking side by side, the two warriors brace themselves for whatever lore drop the elder is hiding. Scanning the massive room, the MC asks the old man what zone they are actually in. Dodging the question, the elder raises his hand and tells the warrior to hustle over without stalling. Obeying on the spot, the former human steps up to his superior to show some respect. Right then, a tiny magic spark lights up on the tip of the veteran shaman's finger. Demanding total respect, the tribal leader tells the shorty to bow down and lower his head. The mystic touch beams a subtle energy straight into the quiet warrior's brain. Throwing his weight around, Morxel grants the warrior the right to start his own indie clan, leaving the guy totally stunned. The elder backs up his play, saying the rookie earned the massive XP and already has a solid squad backing him. Plus, the old man hints that the VIP waiting in the lobby is going to be the one funding this new quest. The flashback of the instructions wraps up, and the duo zeroes back in on the dark portal glowing over the fancy desk. Stepping out of the weird energy flash, those feet hit the carpet smooth as butter once again. The figure turns out to be Rumpelstiltskin, the golden goblin, flashing a friendly smile as she catches up with the elder after years. Seeing the new character up close, the MC is blown away by how rare and shiny she looks. Getting super comfy, the girl hops onto the edge of the desk, confirming the newcomer's guesses. Cutting right to the chase, she drops Gorl's name and mentions she heard the guy is shopping for some top-tier weapons. Leaning on the table, the golden goblin warns him nothing is free to play and she cannot just hand out gear. But first, she demands the lore drop, telling the warrior to take a seat. Pulling up a chair, Gorl settles in across from the mysterious host. He agrees to the terms and asks which chapter of his backstory she wants. A while later, the former human finishes dropping his entire downfall and comeback arc, swearing it is no cap. Right after, Rumpelstiltskin starts vibrating, barely able to contain her hype. Slamming both hands on the table, the girl hypes up the story as an absolute masterpiece. Pointing a finger, she loudly claims that was the most entertaining let's play she has ever heard. Caught off guard by the freakout, the green leader just watches her over the top reaction. The hype levels are so unreal that magic cards and props start flying all over the fancy room. Kneeling on the desk, the goblin announces that narrative is officially the crown jewel of her collection. With a snap of her fingers, she floods the room with even more magic particles. Jumping up, the blonde screams about how much she loved the whole thing. Sitting way too close to him, Rumpel cheers that has been forever since someone gave her this much entertainment. Totally unamused, Gorls gets ticked off, wondering what is so fun about his tragic backstory, itching to just send her to the lobby right there. Getting out of his chair, the green warrior immediately demands his loot. Cracking up at his rush, Rumpelstiltskin agrees, noting he cannot raid without gear. With a slick backflip, the golden girl gets behind her desk again. Leaning right into his personal space, she promises a premium drop for her great vessel. Strutting across the carpet, the goblin just tells the rookie to follow her lead. Booting up a massive golden portal, the host says it is time for the unboxing. Reading from a tome, Rumpel whispers like a fangirl about the tragedy of betrayal, obsessed with the drama. Stepping through the magic, the leader responds rocking his sick new clan master armor set. Checking out the drip, the blonde hypes him up saying he looks like a legit raid boss now and asks if they are good to go. Adjusting his scarf, Gorls gives the thumbs up, feeling a massive stat boost surging through his code. Totally chill, the goblin slithers onto her desk, lounging like a queen. The minions gearing up in the background, she flexes that her RNG never misses. Pointing at him, the girl tells the warrior to listen close to the tutorial for his new buffs. The leader stays quiet, focusing completely on the patch notes. Soon after, a white flag stamped with a sword flaps over the freshly spawned raid camp. Looking over his shoulder, the commander hears his name getting spammed in the chat. Standing on a cliff, he looks down at his new goblin army hyping up their leader. Gripping it tight, Gorls holds his brand new high-tier sword. Drawing the blade, the warrior tells his brothers to push up, because the hunting phase is officially live. Screaming like absolute menaces, the monster horde full sprints straight at the target zone. Up on the pole, the new clan banner whips aggressively in the wind. Meanwhile, human NPCs run around the camp in a panic, desperately trying to equip their weapons. Crashing into a tent, a guy warns the squad leader that the raid is on. Panning hard, the messenger clarifies the attackers are not bandits, but a massive goblin swarm. Flabbergasted by the glitch in the matrix, the human captain cannot process the intel. Smashing through the defenses, the green army floods the human base, thirsty for action. Right then, Rumpel's voice pings in Gorls' head, dropping the details on his first passive buff. While wiping the floor with the humans, the system hits him with a pop, up saying all clan eliminations share XP with the leader. Flashing back to the lobby, the golden goblin tees up the second broken feature of his bundle. Paying attention, the former human just crosses his arms and absorbs the magic hacks. Walking around, Rumpel claims he unlocked the ability to pull up the system quest log manually. The warrior's eyes go wide seeing the girl actually boot up the magic interface in real life. The goblin explains he has full admin rights to use the menu anywhere, no cooldowns. Back in the meat grinder, Gorls waves his hand and pulls up the human hunting quest floating mid-air. Chuckling, he admits doing this whole system UI thing feels straight out of an RPG. In the middle of the mess, a human soldier screams taking aggro from the horde. Desperate, another survivor swings a torch, trying to shake off the mob that jumped him. Holding the line, a guard swings his sword, trying to clutch the 1v1. Teaming up, the soldiers try to trade blows with the green invaders. With a clean slice, a goblin's head goes flying, making a massive mess on the camp lawn. Pushing to the front line, the human captain roasts his guys for throwing against low-level mobs. Drawing his sword, he orders the squad to teach those trash-tier monsters a lesson for messing with the human faction. But right in the middle of his big speech, a massive crit lands square on the commander's face. The guy freezes on the spot with a blade planted right between his eyes. Flashing a death glare, Gorls aggressively asks who the garbage tier NPC was calling a weak monster. The completely finished, the captain's heavy body faceplants into the dirt. The soldier next to him is left absolutely traumatized seeing the boss get tapped by a basic goblin. Quitting the fight, the kid pulls a 180 and bolts, screaming those mobs are totally hacked. Pure panic overrides the rest of the humans who scatter and call for an emergency retreat. Watching the hostiles run like cowards, the green commander just calls them straight up noobs. Celebrating the dub, one of the minions runs up, gassing the boss up for an epic carry. The former human keeps a straight face, totally zoned in on his own thoughts post-match. In his memory, Rumpelstiltskin smiles and asks if he already locked in a clan tag. The warrior stayed quiet back then, weighing his options super carefully. Snapping back to reality, Gorls violently yanks his dagger out of the enemy's face. The fresh mess from the eliminated captain drips, staining the sharp steel. Facing his squad, the leader praises his green brothers for totally popping off in the raid. Standing in front of the whole army, he gives a loud speech that today is their official respawn. Locked in, Mev and the crew listen to the boss remind them how they used to camp and run in fear. Lifting his chin, he wraps up the monologue announcing they finally secured the ultimate W against humanity. Riding the absolute hype of the moment, Gorls roars to his troops that from now on, they are going to farm nothing but wins. Raising his weapon high for the whole server to see, the leader keeps the proud speech rolling, locking in their identity. With that, the commander proclaims loud and clear that they form the Great Crimson Dagger Clan. The celebratory roars of the horde echo out past the horizon, stamping their absolute dominance over the human camp.